Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso, and I want to welcome you to a series we're doing with the principals from Ballistic Ventures to learn a little bit and pick their brains on interesting topics related to venture and to cyber and to AI, all things that if you're here and you enjoy those topics, then man, you are in the right place. But I want to start by welcoming Barmak. Meftah is a good friend of mine. Our careers have sort of been intertwined for years, and Barmak, it's nice to see you. How's everything going?
Always great to be with you, Ed. Life
You
is
have had a busy couple of weeks, right? There's a lot going on in your world. I'm going to just throw it right at you and ask you, tell us a little bit about some of the very interesting transactions you've been involved in the last couple of weeks here in sort of the mid to latter part of September 2025. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the ones I've been involved in, Pangea Cyber, probably the most exciting. CrowdStrike acquired them. You probably saw the news, Ed. And an amazing team. We knew Oliver and Surab, the two co-founders, from their past life. They created Phantom Cyber. Ted, my partner, was the lead institutional investor there. They essentially created the security orchestration automation space, sold it to Splunk. And so we knew it was a very special team. We led the Series A round for Pangea just about 3.5 years ago. In fact, it was either our first deal at Ballistic or the second deal at Ballistic, one of the early ones. And amazing tech they built. The initial idea for Pangea was to essentially build a framework that allowed developers to build security features embedded into their applications using APIs. Think what Twilio did for communications or Stripe did for e-commerce. Our thought process was that everybody needs security features. Instead of them reverse engineering these features, you could go to Pangea and grab the APIs you needed. Over the last year and a half, they pivoted, or I shouldn't say pivoted, they really added the APIs required for AI risk management, AI security, which is obviously a big topic on the ascendancy. Very good market traction, and the fit and finish with CrowdStrike was great. They were looking strategically to get in the space. And then more individually, one of the leading OT companies, got acquired by Mitsubishi. Nozomi Networks, as you know, I was an early individual backer in Nozomi, and I was on their board and loved the team. Their execution was amazing. And they got picked up not too long ago. So pretty happy individually, very happy as a venture capitalist with basically Ballistic. And so it's been a great 2 weeks.
Well, congrats on both. Now, I want to ask you a question about these acquisitions. When a larger company does the acquisition, and you and I have been involved in some, like with over at AT&T, is it usually, I'm going to give you 3 points and you tell me maybe weight them. Is it the people that they're buying? Is it the platform they're buying? Or is it some sort of vision and concept that they're selling? Is it a collage of those, or do you see one being more important than the others?
Yeah, it's a spectrum, Ed. So sometimes a company has a huge install base and they have a product portfolio void, and they're trying to essentially fill that void. And for
Yeah.
them, it becomes a buy versus build. And the main decision is the acceleration or time to market. For them, they're going to say, look, we can probably get this thing built. It might take us 3 years with a certain amount of spend, et cetera. And of course, you run into execution risk and whether or not it's going to work. So if they find the technology and a team, frankly, that can come and create that accretive acceleration immediately for them and fill that void, that becomes more of a technology slash team buy for the company. Sometimes it falls more into go-to-market. So it's a company that says, look, I'm trying to either get into a new market segment that I don't play in, or I just don't have the time or the energy to be able to staff up a go-to-market team that's going to open doors in a specific area in cybersecurity. And often those acquisitions are more scaled acquisitions. So acquirers look for companies not just for the team or the intellectual property, but they're going to require scale. You want to be at least 20, 30 million revenue, if not higher, depending on what the company wants to buy. And in that case, they're essentially buying the company, typically, not always, but typically to create a business unit out of it, which includes sales, marketing strength, engineering strength, product management strength. So depending on what the acquirer is trying to accomplish, they'll basically veer one or the other.
In the AI market right now, kind of AI slash security, do you see some of the acquirers dialing up a little bit more on vision? Because many of these companies do not have recurring revenue. They've got a lot of POCs or POVs. It might have a great team, cool platform. You and I've talked about a bunch of companies like that. They're awesome. But I mean, metaphysically, you can't have a book of business there because these companies all
Right.
invented in the last 24 months, right?
Yeah.
So is it more vision on AI? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on AI because I worry sometimes that there may be a little bit of a bubble creating with overfunding some of the companies that shouldn't be there. What are your thoughts on AI?
Yeah, so thematically, Ed, sort of as we invest in AI companies, we typically put them into three different buckets. The first bucket is sort of AI risk management, AI security. And, a company, Witness AI, we have in our portfolio, Pangea, Cyber, Noma, would fall into how do you ensure that LLMs and AI systems are developed securely and are being used in a risk managed way or secure way. And so, you can extend that area into AI ethics and bias and explainability or what have you. All sort of covers the gamut of do you develop and deploy safe AI? I guess that's kind of one thread. The other thread that we look at is AI attacking you. So, as you know, zero-day exploits are getting a lot more effective to build with AI. Deep fakes are on the rise. Me and you right now are on a Zoom. I can probably hope that you're Ed Amoroso on the other end, but I don't know for a fact because, actually,
Behind this face is a big bunch of electronics. There's no heat.
exactly. And so those kind of new threat vectors are on the rise, and we have to create AI systems to go after AI attacks, and that becomes a kind of thread too that we like to invest in. And then the third would be, I guess, the application of AI to create efficiency and automation.
Yeah.
And so, and in that space, we see a huge number of companies that, are trying to automate the ability to run a SOC more effectively, to kind of find data structures with a higher fidelity accuracy. And so that would be the third threat, which is how do you employ AI to increase your productivity and or to do things that otherwise would be lower fidelity, lower accuracy, less predictive, and now you can do it with higher predictability. In the third bucket, you see companies at scale. In the second bucket, which is new threat vectors, they're just getting started, to your point. And the first bucket probably falls under the same category. I have to say, in the first bucket, which is AI risk and safety, the acceleration is pretty incredible. So I mean, the pull in the market is pretty amazing. And so I anticipate those companies getting big pretty quick.
Yeah, the good ones. I think that, and I'm curious what you think when you do see a glut. Like I have this super secret spreadsheet that I keep, of all the companies when I meet one, and we put them in our portal at TAG. But on my spreadsheet is a couple hundred companies, that are doing this. And you and I know 10% of them probably viable. Now, does that hurt the prospects for the better ones? Like, do companies wait around almost like you'd wait around to see if there's some bargain basement price for someone? Or do you just kind of ignore that? And if you're good, and it really doesn't matter. Curious what you think about that one.
My thesis is there's going to be 10% of the companies you articulated that are going to be the breakout companies.
Yeah.
And it's going to revolve around enterprise adoption. And so, again, to be biased, we have one right now in our portfolio. We incubated Witness AI that,
Yeah.
if you look at their early market traction, is just pretty incredible. So I think it's going to boil down to if you get the top 20 or 30 big enterprises that are going to put their bet on one or two of these companies and are going to say, look, this is the platform for AI safety or AI risk management that I'm going to go with, that escape velocity creates more velocity. And, they're going to bet on that. That's on one aspect. I also wouldn't necessarily throw away the capabilities of bigger companies that would extend their functionality to get in their space. For example, if you're a cloud access service broker, your ability to extend to cover the AI aspects of a cloud access service broker is there. And all you have to do is either build or buy. If you're a secure web gateway, these web proxies, really easy to extend a web proxy to be able to monitor traffic that's going back and forth and be able to implement AI risk policies, you build or buy. So it'll boil down to existing security functions extending into the AI use case. And then, of course, there's all these companies, including the ones that we have, that are going to build an independent platform for AI safety and risk management. And I think 10 to 15% of them are going to be the ones that are going to hit escape velocity and break out from the others.
It's interesting you bring up those functions because as we're talking, Netskope IPO'd yesterday, right? And they do the Caspian gateway and so on. And I'm sure Sanjay Berry has his eye on AI as the next frontier. Probably maybe one of your companies. Maybe that's the goal.
Yeah, he has to. I think they have some organic development going on in that space, but I wouldn't be surprised if they acquire a couple of companies in that space as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, I think they'd be good. Now let's talk OT. So I'd done some predictive modeling at NYU where we think OT is just ready to be the big target. I mean, if you think about Stuxnet, that was in 2010,
Yep.
15 years ago. Most of our predictions are around you see a thing happen, then there's a period of dormancy, then it happens at scale. Like DDoS, you see it, then nothing, then scale. Worms, you see it happen, nothing, then at scale. We think
Yeah.
Stuxnet is going to be the next big at scale. And the three companies that are going to benefit probably are Clarity, Dragos, and Nozomi, to be honest with you. I know you're going to be biased and love Nozomi. They're all pretty good, but take me through what you think the next few years will be. I mean, Nozomi, as they sort of feed into that more corporate infrastructure, will they still be a provider that we can buy from, or do you see them becoming more integrated?
Oh, I think they'll be independent. Obviously they were acquired, but independent that they will cover the broader OT and frankly the broader IoT OT space.
Yeah.
I think one trend that I'm seeing is the line between IoT and OT is getting thinner and thinner, and I think enterprises are going to sort of want to invest in a platform that could provide support for both their IP connected devices on the IoT side and obviously more the operational technology side, which is typically offline. They're not online, so you have to have different types of solutions. But I think the line is going to get blurred. So whoever's going to innovate faster in that convergence of IoT, OT, I think is going to be ahead. But I think your observation is spot on. I think we went through kind of the first wave of attacks around industrial controls and critical infrastructure, and we saw firsthand the ramifications. I mean, God forbid I mean, you see these self-driving cars in San Francisco all the time, and I'm
Right.
being in driverless, and me and my wife are always in awe of like we go by them, and it's just incredible to watch them navigate the
It
traffic.
is amazing.
It's unbelievable. But as a cyber guy, my anxiety kicks in immediately and says, God forbid if there's a breach vector and attack vector there that could be exploited, the ramifications are enormous. I'm sure the companies are taking extreme measures to make sure they're safe and they're, sort of hack proof or what have you. But I think anything that touches critical infrastructure, industrial controls, deals with human life in general, there's a new wave that is gonna come to bear because we understand the repercussions are just enormous.
A big part of our practice at TAG is that we work with energy companies, electric companies, and so on. And it's funny when you walk into their existing infrastructure, you feel like it's 1978. Like it's all these
Very old
analog
school.
things,
Super old.
gray panels. You
Exactly.
almost can't believe it, but
Exactly.
they're no dummies. They know that with AI, and frankly, even with, I know people don't talk about sustainability anymore, but people do talk a lot about off grid. So all of them are recasting their operations. So it's
Totally.
being redesigned. So
Totally.
that's where cyber becomes a real fear because you and I know that whenever you redesign and change and upgrade and completely revamp an operation, that
Yep.
transition introduces risk. So it
Yep.
freaks us out. We'll work
Totally.
with some of these
Totally.
companies, and on my way home, I'll be thinking,
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
scary. And that's what Nozomi and and their competitors, they're well positioned to
Yeah.
help at least provide visibility and some path to mitigation. But I was
Yeah.
happy to see the acquisition because I want those companies to be funded up the wazoo and operating at full tilt because we're going to need them. So
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. You know, what's interesting, Ed, is me and you have been in the cyber business for longer than we thought we were going to be. And you know, I remember Fortify in the early days when we were talking about attack surface expansion.
yeah,
And you know, we were talking about the application being the new attack surface because port 80 was open. And so you know, those things would get exploited. But you know, what happens is every 6 to 8 years, 8 to 10 years, there's these huge inflection points that happen in tech. And these inflection points are great for innovation, but horrific for cybersecurity because, you know, sort of, you know, the pace of innovation is inversely proportional to the expansion of the attack surface. And so, you know, sort of the exponential growth of the attack surface is just astounding, which then things can be exploited a lot easier. And then the exponential growth of the adversary's capabilities is astounding. And now you sprinkle on top of it AI, which kind of helps makes the adversary more effective. And so you sort of bring those together. And I guess as investors and operators, if you're in cybersecurity, you'll be very happy because jobs are going to be around for, you know, for a long period of time. But you know, if you do worry about the cyber footprint of our country, of the commercial enterprise, you really have to start investing in these new innovative areas. Otherwise, it's going to get out of control pretty quickly.
I would agree. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot and make you Guru Barmak for a moment here. So as we close, so a lot of people watching here that are company founders. They might be, early stage, and they see, oh my gosh, interview with Barmak from Ballistic. I better watch. So they're watching us right now, and I'm going to ask you for some advice for these. When you meet an early stage founder, when somebody has an idea, and their dream is to build a business, to get some funding to work with somebody amazing like you. What do you usually tell them? Do you usually, do you have a sentence that you use or a little narrative? What's usually your advice for people like that?
I do. Find a business problem first. So
Mm,
don't think technology first. Like resist the temptation to think about what to build and how to build, but immediately gravitate towards what acute problem am I going to solve for whom? And the whom being very, very important because the whom is really the indicator of the ICP, which is, right, do you want to sell into big enterprises? Do you want to sell into small to medium-sized businesses? Do you want to make end users more effective? So kind of find the persona
yeah.
in a market segment with a huge problem to go solve. That's kind of point one. Point two is be very agile and nimble, which is don't think your hypothesis is going to be what's going to be the thing a year from now. And so what you want to do is you want to find 5 or 6 of the Illuminati in your ICP and go talk to them on an ongoing basis.
ICP being customer profile. You're in
Being
I
the ideal customer profile. If you're selling into the enterprise, go find the best 5 CISOs or the best 5 personas that you're trying to sell into, and then show them your product development in a very iterative way and sort of elicit input as the product's being developed and with their help almost build the product because there is no substitute for the buyer telling you what problem they're going to solve and whether the product you're building is going to solve that problem. Once you get those two, augment it with a great team, find a big addressable market, get the market timing right so it's not too early, not too late, and then finally have a platform vision that is not just an act one, but you can have an act two and act three, and then you have a great company. So easy at anybody.
threading the needle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that whole proverbial solution in search of a problem, man, we see that every day, right? And it
Totally.
breaks your heart too, because a lot of it comes from universities and smart people who
Academic.
who've been working in an area and they say, "Oh, wow, I should start a company." And then they'll come to a person like you or me and say, "Is there a market here?" Sometimes there is,
Yeah.
and sometimes there isn't. Yes.
Yeah, it's a wrong sequence. Is a wrong. You want to work your way from the problem to the solution, not from the solution to the problem. for
Well,
people.
it's always a delight to catch up with you. I hope some kid in Iowa in a garage or some kid in Brooklyn up in a bedroom was listening and takes your
No,
advice. Maybe they'll be the next Uber. Who knows?
not that I know everything. It's always awesome to talk to you, and it's interesting because the sun, I went to part of my office so I can escape from the sun, but I'd see the halo effect
It's
on my
been
head.
very metaphoric as you've been talking. The sun has come, and it feels very much like somebody up there agrees with you.
I certainly hope so, Ed.
Barmak, it's a delight. I've always enjoyed catching up, and I hope everyone's enjoyed the discussion.
It's great to talk to you, Ed. Take
And
care.
for everyone else, we'll see you all next time.